NBA trade season is upon us, and if your team is trading one of your top players, you may not get the value this year that you're looking for. Anthony Davis, James Harden, some of the veterans potentially on the move. What about Kawhi Leonard? Could the Clippers aspire to move on from him? And it's looking that way, but the return might be a bit underwhelming, and that could also bleed into a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade conversation. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel, pushing for 40,000 subscribers by 2026. Help us get there. Hit that subscribe button. Joining me, Donnie Freeman. Donnie, it may be the trade season for bargain hunting around the NBA because the apron system sounds like teams are not going to be willing to pay top dollar for star talent this year.
Yeah, absolutely, as they shouldn't be. You know, that especially with some of these guys on the market, they don't really have the most value in the first place. So I think there's a lot of different factors, but we are going to absolutely, I think, see this become a thing for the next couple of years with this new CBA.
All right, let's take a look at this. This was from the Hoop Collective. It was grabbed by Hoops Hype. Brian Windor said, I don't know what the value of Anthony Davis is. Some of the stuff I've heard from executives talking to me about what they think AD's trade value is. He said, I'm not even going to say it because then I'm going to get aggregated. Well, you're going to get aggregated anyway, as you did here on Hoops Hype. People jumping down my throat. I would just be repeating what something somebody else said. When I have heard what people are saying Anthony Davis's trade value is right now, not because of him as a player, to be clear, not because he's diminished as a player, but because of the idea of paying an injury-prone mid-30s guy $50 to $60 million in the apron era is unpalatable. And Donnie, this is what we've been saying, like the Mavs, and we're going to talk about this, similar things with James Harden, with Kawhi Leonard, with a number of other players that are out there on the market. If a team sees your value moving forward as anything other than team-friendly, positive value, if there's a chance that you're going to be a negative value contract, teams are very hesitant to make those moves. And with a player like AD, who when he plays is certainly worth a max contract, when he's not playing though, and because that happens so frequently, I think the Mavs return on an Anthony Davis trade is not going to be what Mavs fans are hoping it's going to be.
Yeah, but like I was saying in the beginning, I think that's the case for most teams because these guys are mostly on the market because of something being undesirable, whether that's the contract length, the amount, the injury concern. Maybe they're not playing up to par with the contract. Like they're typically on the market for these reasons. Otherwise, when you get these guys, you're not trying to trade them in most cases. And so for Anthony Davis, while we can acknowledge, like you said, that when he is out there, when he's playing, when he's healthy, all these things, that's a lot of ifs and whens. But when he's able to do that stuff, he is a phenomenal talent, and I think is absolutely a player I think is worth that money, at least in the short term. I do question a couple of years from now, like we've said a few times, but that's another piece to this too. Like you're paying Anthony Davis for the short term, but then he's going to want an extension. What does that look like? And he's got that $62 million player option. You could get him and he could be perfectly healthy. He's gone through some stretches like that, but odds are that's not going to be the case also. So I don't know.
I wonder if there will be a team that would be willing to trade for AD and say, no, we're not going to do the extension. Yeah, I wonder if that, because I think that would make him more valuable to a team. That's what's going to really scare teams. If they are getting him knowing that they're going to have to extend him this next summer, and then you're looking at AD really at 35, 36, 37, and having him on a big contract at that point, that would scare teams away, I think. If you have a team that either has the guts to tell him no, or is going to pre-negotiate that with him, hey, we'll extend you, but we're not doing max money. We're not doing that. Look what happened with KD. He didn't take max money. You might be 32, but you're really 47. That's what we're going to do with AD. It's going to take a team that's willing to draw a hard line with Anthony Davis. And if they do, they may get a fantastic player. But I think if the idea going in is that you have to extend him, the Mavs, I mean, we're talking expiring salary, maybe a pick. Like they're not going to get the value they want for AD if the idea going into it is he must be extended next summer.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with how well he plays either, no. I don't think. Like he could go out there and from this stretch and average 25 and 14, something like that. And he'd be damn good to do so, right? Like he'd look really good. And I'm sure that would improve the value just a little bit, but these concerns aren't going away because, like Brian was mentioning, it's not about the quality of the player so much in the right now. It's about the long term of this stuff and the current situation that we're in and how hard it is to build rosters with these big salaries on the books. If you're not positive this guy is going to be, if you're a team that's in contention, Anthony Davis or otherwise, if you're not positive this player can put you over the top, maybe you don't want to pay this player to get you close enough. You want to get somebody that can put you over the top to really put you in the mix of things. So I think that that's another important piece of this. And it's not just him or players in his salary range. It's also the guys that are in that Zach LaVine range. Like we've talked a lot about that. Do you want to pay that guy like $40 million, right? Especially if they're going to be your third guy. Maybe if they're your second guy, okay. But if they're like your third guy, then it's really hard to do, like we talked about with Lowry, things like that. So I think that the CBA we've been in for a few years, has really made teams cautious of pulling the trigger on signing these types of contracts and acquiring these contracts.
In other words, you're not going to see a Rudy Gobert trade where it's 5 picks or whatever.
Absolutely not.
That's not happening. And look, if you gave me my choice, would I rather have Anthony Davis or Rudy Gobert? Anthony Davis, no question, Anthony Davis. But you're not going to get the return. It's a different world than the one we were living in a few years ago.
Oh, hold on really quick.
Yeah.
We said that last time we talked about this, and there was a couple comments that actually said they would rather have the opposite because
they would rather have Gobert
is the best ability, right? So I was like, damn, I guess if you feel that
I haven't been that impressed with Rudy Gobert this season. I think both guys are declining, but I'll take Anthony Davis's much, much, much more versatile offensive game than what Gobert brings. That's me. But if you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section why you disagree. And then I'll tell you why I'm right. All right, let's get into, before we get into James Harden, it looks like the Clippers may actually trade James Harden. Like that could be the path we're going down for the Clippers, and maybe Kawhi Leonard too. In addition to this could matter for Giannis Antetokounmpo. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Sleeper. Sleeper does a phenomenal job. They are the presenting sponsor for this show. Made a few picks, some quick ones here. You guys can use our code Bulletin and get a 100% match up to $100 plus a free $20 entry right now on Sleeper. Again, use that link in the description down below. This is how we keep growing and keep going. So we certainly appreciate it if you guys will check out Sleeper. Klay Thompson, I've got him more than 2.5 threes made. I'm going to bet on the old guy here and say that Klay gets done against OKC. Meanwhile, Cooper Flagg, he's been playing great basketball. I know they're playing OKC, and it may turn into a blowout, but Cooper Flagg, he's so big for his position. I think he's going to find a way to put up 16.5 points. Meanwhile, Boston Reeves going up against the Celtics. No LeBron for this one, or he's doubtful anyway. No Luka for this one. I've got Austin getting more than 8.5 assists because he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. I'll tell you what, Donnie, by the end of this game, if he isn't already after last night against Toronto, he's going to be exhausting Reeves for sure.
Okay, I can't move on. I can't. I just can't. I can't. Did you hear him at the end of the game? He was like, Luka, I need you back, brother. Get back soon.
Congratulations to Luka. His daughter was born. So no, nothing wrong with Luka missing games for this. Obviously, that's an important thing.
Really quick, Draymond said he couldn't miss a game for this exact reason, like earlier this week. What's your take on that? Should he have just missed the game?
Wait, what did Draymond say?
You didn't see that Draymond played the game when his kid was born the other day?
No. I didn't see it. It may be the Draymond filter that I've got on my computer to preserve my sanity.
Yeah, he chose to play the game instead of being there with his wife.
Look, to each their own, right? Everybody's going to make their own decision on that. And if that's the decision that Draymond, or more importantly, his wife, was okay with, then that's fine. Everybody make their own decision. But I certainly am not going to take that and use that as a way to say, see, Draymond did it, Luka should do it. No, that is a unforgettable experience. It's a life-changing moment. And
I go the opposite way. There's no reason he should have played that game.
No.
He should have been there, in my opinion.
No. But if for whatever reason Draymond and his wife agreed to that and said that was the way it needed to go, okay. Yep. But yeah, I do not fault any athlete for missing a game for the birth of a child.
Can we talk about your Draymond filter for a second?
Yeah. Yeah. So It's in order to keep as much bullshit off of my computer as possible. I just filter out anything Draymond says, because we know he says crazy stuff. Great player, but he says crazy
You
stuff.
need
all the
a
time.
MPJ one.
I have one of those too, and I think the Nets are trying to get one installed across their organization as well.
Yeah, he had an interesting summer, man.
He really did. All right. Tim Bontemp said sources have indicated the Clippers could try to move up their free agency timeline from the 2027 offseason to next summer, which would require finding trade partners with cap room to take on James Harden and Leonard. The feedback from league insiders has been that while a team would take Harden, Houston Rockets maybe, let's bring him back. It may be more difficult to find a landing spot for Leonard because of his injury and the aspiration case still ongoing. Kawhi Leonard is deeply rooted in the Clippers organization. It's going to be really difficult to get him to leave.
No, I'm not gonna do it. The one that it's really hard to get rid of is Lawrence Frank, because oh my God, dude, that guy must know where all the trees are buried, because he needs to come out of there.
I talked about it yesterday. Like, what, they're giving him an extension despite how poorly the Clippers season has gone.
Oh
which
my God.
You can make the right decisions in sports and have things not go your way. You can make decisions where you look back and you go, I would make that decision 10 times out of 10. Every time it just didn't go my way. That happens sometimes. You can make what looks like the correct decision, and it's an inexact science. So Lawrence Frank can have wonderful decision making and still wind up with a disaster of a season, but you don't expect a contract extension to be given during a disaster of a season. Not that they're the only ones to do it. The Lakers did it with Pelinka.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Shadow Pelinka one that they didn't mention at all. We just find out.
He kept quiet about that.
Didn't say a damn thing.
But in terms of a trade front, James Harden has a player option for next year. I would expect he probably picks that up unless it's to do a slightly longer term deal somewhere. But my guess would be $42.3 million. He's probably not getting. He's been pretty good when he's played, been good this season, but he's probably not getting at 36 years old, $42.3 million. So I would imagine he picks that up. So if you're trading for Harden, I think you have to look at it and think, okay, we're getting him for 2 years, 39 this year, 39 million this year, 42 million next year. And that's okay. Obviously easier if you can convince him to, kind of like with the Zach LaVine conversation, where if he can be convinced not to pick up that player option and then you negotiate a new deal, that would help grease the wheels. But Harden is playing well enough that there are teams around the NBA that could say, you know what, we could really use a James. I mentioned the Houston Rockets. They're doing just fine without Fred VanVleet right now. But could you use another offensive piece like Harden? I mean, he's averaging 8.4 assists, 27 points per game right now on 37% from deep, 44% from the field. He is still producing at a very high level. I think there are teams that could talk themselves into James Harden. How about the Minnesota Timberwolves? The Wolves have been looking for a guard. What about a Harden and Anthony Edwards backcourt? Now, stacking up the salaries to get there, there's some challenges logistically to making this work. But I could see where a team could, if the Clippers say, you know what, we really want cap space for 2026, and you look at all those team options they've got on Batum, on Brook Lopez, on Bogdanovich, they just say goodbye to all those players. They could very well find themselves in a spot where they have flexibility this summer, $0 guaranteed to Chris Dunn. The path is there, but you got to get Harden off your books and you got to get Kawhi off your books. I think Harden is definitely the easier of the two to make that happen.
You want to know something interesting about Harden? This is firstly the highest amount of points he's put up since leaving Houston, right? Because he shifted to being more of like a point guard, double-digit assist guy right after that, because he had done it once prior, but then has mostly done that up until coming to LAC. Otherwise, this is basically a season in terms of shot volume, percentages, all that stuff that's extremely comparable to his early Houston days. So about a 10-year stint there from around like 2014 to 15. He's putting up numbers very similar to that. So I didn't have like entering his prime Harden statistics on my bingo book or in my bingo card, whatever, going into this season. But he's been tremendous for this team, and they're still losing because he's not able to have the same impact as he once did. Numbers be damned. But I do think he's a guy that you could trade for. I think with Kawhi, you need to lead with the aspiration stuff, because frankly, I don't think the Clippers should be allowed to do anything with him while that's still ongoing. I think that they need to have him sit there, because who knows what this all looks like, because like I've said before, Kawhi deserves punishment for that too. So I don't think you should be allowed to trade him. I don't think you should be allowed to get any assets back for him, even though the NBA can still technically pull those if they wanted to, if you were to trade him. But on Harden's part, I think he could go somewhere and be a big piece. But the trick with him is if you're trading for him, he's got like $80 million remaining, between this year and next year. I think he's a piece where at his age, all that stuff, you're going to want him to take a lesser role and put you over the top. Can he slide in midseason and do that? Or do you need another following season to do that? But I think that if you're making that trade, it's because your time is now and you're a team that's already on the cusp and you feel like Harden is the missing piece and he can put you in a situation where if you get in a series with OKC, maybe you're able to pull it off. Right. And there's not a lot of teams in that spot right now that could certainly use another guard that's going to come in and have that high usage too.
Yeah, that's the thing with a guy like Harden is he is going to have that high usage. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to be creating. He's going to be playmaking, and you got to find the right landing spot. Now with Kawhi,
you don't have those same concerns, but the aspiration thing is
Kawhi is, if both guys are totally healthy, Kawhi is the easier fit.
Yes.
Just about anywhere, right? Because of what he can do defensively. Still, he's not the defender he's not the claw that he was, 5 years ago, but 6 years ago. But he's still a very easy fit. He also makes more money. That's when we're talking about a 20% difference in salary, that matters when we're trying to match salaries. And then the aspiration thing with it feels like we could any day get another update on that's going to send that whole thing into a tailspin again. The NBA still investigating the whole situation. And if it's found, especially if you're a team and you trade for Kawhi and then it turns out that there was wrongdoing here.
Yeah.
Then what happens? That uncertainty, in addition to the salary, I think that makes it very difficult to move Kawhi. If you're the Clippers, I think it feels weird saying this, but you're almost more hoping that Kawhi's salary just gets voided as part of the decision in whatever verdict would come down if there's wrongdoing that's found. I think that is the easier path than trading Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, and then you'd have shades of the Terry Rozier thing where the team that picks him up, firstly, would be stupid for trading him with all this information being out there, because the Terry Rozier stuff, they were questioning whether or not Charlotte knew and didn't say anything, but that would have been hush, hush, and quiet. But full well, it's been very public what's going on with Kawhi. Even though it hasn't been talked about as much, it's still lingering. And so if you trade for him, frankly, I think you're stupid personally, because assuming that there is wrongdoing, if there isn't, then okay, right? But the team that's trading for him just gets screwed in that case. You gave up those assets. Are they going to return those to you? What happens? And then if he played for you, they're not going to change your record or anything like that. So it's all too big of a mess. I would steer clear of him.
Yeah, I think that could be prohibitive of the Clippers being able to employ this strategy where they free up flexibility for this summer. They can still free up some, but I have a hard time imagining, unless we somehow get resolution on this aspiration thing. Which, by the way, I think if it comes back that there was no wrongdoing found, they're going to have a whole other mess on their hands, because there's a lot of people that will not believe that. And they will think there is wrongdoing being committed by no wrongdoing being found. And if that's the way this ultimately comes out, that's just what I think the court of public opinion will reveal. Now, all of this, though, Donnie, speaks to the Giannis situation and the fact that when we look at the draft capital, the players that are going to be available, while I would expect Giannis to get significantly more than James Harden would in a trade, than Kawhi Leonard would in a trade, than Anthony Davis would in a trade, no question, by a lot, Giannis should get way more. We're still probably not talking about a 3-4 first type situation. We're probably talking about, what does Milwaukee really want? Do they want young players? Do you want young talent and a first? You can probably get that, maybe a couple of firsts, depending on the value. Not all firsts are created equal. But we're still probably not talking about a Gobert level pick bonanza here.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about them trying to get a guy like Reeves or whatever. You could say whatever you want about whether or not the Milwaukee side would want that, fine. But I personally think they shouldn't even be targeting a guy like that. I think they should be trying to get a blue chip guy that they can grow.
A young,
a 21, 22.
So a Dylan Harper or Stephon Castle.
I heard that they don't want to give those guys up, and I understand it.
I get Spurs fans don't want to give those guys up, but it's Giannis.
Yeah, like
if you want Giannis, and if you're not willing to give those guys up, just say you don't want Giannis.
Well, they're doing the thing that they did with Fox, where it's like, we're not giving them nothing. And it worked out, right? But Giannis is a different level, right? So I don't know. But yeah, they need to get something like that, in my opinion, if you're going to trade Giannis. I don't think you need to get because for example, a guy like a Reeves is a win now piece, in my opinion. Like you're not going to get him, and unless you're expecting to turn this around within a year, like you're not going to get him and grow and develop with him. He's ready to win now. Like he's already about to enter his prime, or in the heart of his prime, just starting it out, whatever. You need to get younger pieces, a blue chip guy, and develop and grow with that, and maybe get some picks. Yeah, you're probably not going to get the amount of picks that you would have gotten 4 or 5 years ago if you did a superstar trade, right? Because of the situations that we talked about earlier, but you can still get a good amount overall, I think, and you can get some swaps, you can get all that stuff, but I think you need to be targeting that young piece for sure.
Absolutely. I think so, especially if the Bucks can find a way to get some of their own draft capital back.
That would be
that would be big for them to fully tear down. And then we could be talking about, do you move Kyle Kuzma in the trade? Do you then move on from Miles Turner? I know you just signed him, but that may be the path forward.
Yeah, they
for
may
the
need
Milwaukee Bucks.
Full tear down, in my opinion.
Now, all of this is for any particular team. I don't know who. I don't know which team. I don't know which team I could be talking about, but any particular team that may not have a whole lot of draft capital available. It does seem like draft capital is not only in high demand, but also in low supply, which means you may not need 3, 4, 5 first-round picks in order to go get. You're not getting into a superstar trade with one pick, but picks have a lot of value now, and you may not need a whole bushel of picks in order to go make something happen.
Those are hard to get because 3 teams hold all the picks.
Because the Thunder have all of them.
like Brooklyn's got a good amount. Like a few teams hold all the damn picks, so there's no picks to go around. So
Sam Presti has them all in this back room under lock and key. It's like the vault at the Bellagio from Ocean's 11 in order to get into Sam Presti's room.
I can't believe he's got the possibility to get 3 lottery picks this season. What is happening here? So he's got all the picks.
That's the downside too. And the Clippers may say, well, we don't care, screw everybody else, but it's the downside to if the Clippers do decide to hey, we're going to go for cap space this summer, you could be handing a very good pick. Right now, if the draft stays chalk, OKC would be getting the 7th pick and the 9th pick from the Clippers and from the Jazz.
Jeez.
And then the 17th pick from Philly.
See, that's why I said they got a chance to get 3 lotto picks in there. My God. What are you doing?
Utah loses a few games, and that Utah pick stays. The Clippers are. I think what will happen is by the end of the season, the Clippers will win a few more games. The Jazz will lose a few more games, and OKC is going to wind up with the 13th pick, 12th pick, something like that, which is still good, and the 19th pick or something from Philly.
Somebody's going to bookmark this when they come back with the number 1 overall pick.
Probably.
Could you imagine the Clippers pick turning into a number 1 overall pick? Wait, didn't that happen last time with Kyrie? Wasn't that what happened?
Oh, yeah, that was from the Baron Davis trade. Yeah, that was Kyrie.
That was
the Clippers
right?
pick, moving Baron Davis off their books. It was like a minuscule chance, and it hit and became the number 1 overall pick.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, everybody, give us your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about the trade market? Harden, Kawhi, can the Clippers move these guys? What about Anthony Davis? What kind of return can he actually get? Let us know. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.